I recommend that you're on all of the relevant platforms, just because with what you said earlier about the demographic, like grandma may be on Facebook, but granddaughter's on Instagram type of thing. You want to make sure that you're hitting every touch point. So if someone were to look for you on Instagram and not find you, but they find you on Facebook, it's like, well, what if they use Instagram more? You just missed an opportunity.
Hello, welcome back to the Tom Ferry Podcast Experience. I'm Brenda Hernandez Jaimes, the podcast producer. And today we're doing something different, but already the same. This is the second part of our marketing team podcast episodes. And for part 2 of this series, we're interviewing today our social media manager.
Hello.
Courtney Gracia.
Hello. Good to be on the show, Brenda.
It's good to have you. So for our listeners who are always being told by Tom and Jason Pantana to be active on social media, this is going to be a great episode because you're going to give us an insight on what you do behind the scenes in social media for Tom.
Definitely.
So let's start with something big. I think the biggest platform for right now is obviously Instagram.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell us about, first of all, the new things that are happening on Instagram, because there's a lot of, I feel, maybe a bit of fear around it.
Are you talking about the likes being hidden? Okay.
So people might think, what's the point now of posting things if people are not going to see my likes anymore?
Yeah.
So how is that going to affect them?
Well, I don't think it'll really affect you too much, just because you'll still be able to see the likes on your end. And that's usually what you want to see for your insights, your metrics monthly anyways. And typically when someone likes it, that doesn't really give you a gauge of if they're interested in the content. I think it's more of the engagement. So the comments that you're getting on it, the shares you're getting on it, that's really what's important with the posting. And like I said, you'll still be able to see the likes on your end. So your metrics will still be the same when reporting monthly.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to the first focus when Instagram was created, right?
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on the likes, it's focusing on the quality of the content.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's go into that. So for Tom, what type of content, as you all know, you follow Tom on Instagram, but can you go more specific for the people that might just starting to follow him? What type of content do you post?
So for the content, we have it segmented out per day. So on Monday, you'll always see the Mindset Monday. On Tuesday, you'll always see the Tom Ferry Show. Wednesday, you'll always see the podcast. Thursday is a Throwback Thursday in the blog. And then on Fridays, kind of micro content video we put into that area. And then Saturday is typically the vlog. So you'll see that content each week. And then you'll also see content on top of that. So additional micro content, which is videos pulled from Summit or Tom's Talks or quote cards or different articles. So that's kind of like the supplemental content within the days. But every day for sure on that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday through Saturday, you'll be seeing those main pieces of content.
Okay. So for those people that are listening, there's that must be a lot of content.
Yeah.
How much a day do you post then?
So a day, it basically averages on the platform. So on Instagram, we typically post at least 2 to 3 times a day because we just don't want to bombard people on Instagram, because we are also active with the stories on Instagram. And then on Facebook, it's typically 2 to 4 times a day. And LinkedIn is 3 to 5 times, and Twitter is probably 3 to 5 times. So it all varies per channel, but we are still posting daily because the consistency is what matters. Yeah.
And I feel like consistency equals trust and relevancy.
100%.
And if you're not posting, then your market isn't seeing you, and you don't have evidence, because nowadays people, yes, they focus on the business card, but I feel like people, if they don't find you on social media, they don't trust you.
No, 100%.
So
yeah.
And also they don't trust you if you haven't posted for a year.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you could look different, your content it's just going to go downhill if you're not posting.
Yeah, it's going to go downhill. And let's talk about now, if we're telling people to post consistently, what do you recommend for our clients, our agents that are focused on working and doing their calls and going to their open houses? Should they plan a day ahead, a week ahead, a month ahead?
So I would, with content, you could plan as far ahead as you want. It just depends on the tool that you're using for it. So I would highly recommend using a scheduling tool. There's tons of them out there. We use Sprout Social. You could use Hootsuite, Buffer. You could use any of those to schedule out your content. So there's kind of no excuse to not post content, because you could spend an hour, 2 hours a day just busting out content for 2 weeks, a month, whatever, and you can schedule it to go out on those designated times and dates. So those are extremely helpful if you don't have the time to do so. At least give yourself an hour, once a week to just do the content for a week or do the content for 2 weeks, so that you're ahead of it and you have stuff going out.
Yeah. So it's good that you mentioned Sprout. So for our listeners that have no idea of what Sprout is and how it works, can you, provide detail of how it works?
So Sprout is a reporting tool as well as a scheduling tool. So it's really cool on there. Usually agencies will use it if you have like an approval process. So you could create content for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, any of those, write the copy for it, put the pictures in there, and you can send it to someone to approve it before it goes live. So that's cool. Unless if you don't want to have someone approve it before it goes live, totally fine to have you as the person that will schedule it. It also has monthly reporting. So it'll go into all of the analytics per month, and you can even see the metrics per day. And what's really neat is it's valuable to look into competitor analysis as well. So you can put in the names of people that you believe are your competitors, and it will also pull their metrics. So you could see kind of like where you measure up to that. It'll show like how much they're posting, how much engagement they're getting, all of that stuff. So you could kind of see, well, XYZ is posting 5 times and look how their engagement is doing. Maybe we should up our content, So it's really cool, because at the end of the month, you could print out like a PDF of those reports. So then you could start looking at your metrics monthly to see, well, we posted a lot of family content this month. It didn't do so well. Maybe we should up it to do this amount of content, because look how well it performed within this month. So there's a lot of different avenues and things that you can do within those scheduling platforms.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, it's cool.
Not only do you have your insights in these platforms, right? But you also have your competitors' insights.
Yeah.
That's great. Like if you want to beat an agent in your area,
you can look that up.
Yeah, you can look that up. I think that's amazing. Technology, the internet is evolving so fast. So if you have these tools, and for terms of pricing, is there a free account or monthly?
So
how does it work?
the pricing usually is based off how many users you're going to have on that specific account. So usually I think Sprout is $149 a month for one user, but you get all of that stuff, or you can up it to X amount, however amount it is, but you could have at least 10 users on the account, and that's usually for like teams or agencies if you are going to have that multiple approving process. In our marketing department, we pretty much share all of those passwords. So if someone needed to log on to the Sprout account, they would just log in as that one user, so we didn't really need to have multiple users on it.
And for terms of Tom, what content have you seen that worked really well?
So the content varies actually per channel. So on Instagram, the Mindset Mondays do extremely well, and the Mindset Mondays are posted on IGTV, as well as family content. I know some people are very hesitant of meshing in family and work. But for Tom's account, especially on Instagram, it does really well because it just shows how well-rounded he is, and he's sharing more of his private life as well as what he's working on daily. LinkedIn, a lot of the content that does well is like blog content, article based, or anything that is video. Video's been doing really well. Twitter's more of that like conversational content, asking questions, putting quotes on there, some videos, but not long form videos. It would just be that small micro content that does well on there. And then on Facebook, video content does really well on Facebook, as well as just kind of the paragraph, I guess you would say. It's just like the scripted written word, but that performs really well on that platform.
And it's good that you mentioned IGTV.
Yeah.
So Tom is always telling you to make videos, to go on video. You need to communicate to your customers, your client, your market through video. And for IGTV, what's the best time limit? Like, can I make a 15-minute video, an hour video?
Okay,
How does that work?
So the time duration on IGTV varies per user. So like a typical user, like my own personal Instagram, I would only be able to go up to, I think, 10 minutes. So it has to be at least a minute long, but I can only go up to a 10-minute video. Usually the bigger brands, the verified accounts, you can do a minute to an hour.
Oh, okay.
So
Tom.
So on Tom's account, because of the verified check mark and the following, we're able to go up to an hour. But we've never posted content that long. Our content usually varies under that 10-minute mark.
Yeah, because we know people won't see a video for an hour.
No.
Unless they're going to the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
So going back to that same being precise in what you're producing, what you're posting, right? And also that goes for video.
Yeah.
And let's go into video and like posting photos.
Okay.
Does this, but in terms of hashtags.
Okay.
Do hashtags work the same way for IGTV? Is it different for IGTV and the photos? Like, how does it work?
Are you talking about just hashtags on Instagram?
On Instagram, yeah.
Yeah. So usually with hashtags, you don't want to just put random hashtags that you believe are that would perform well. So like if the photo is of a listing, you're not going to put a hashtag that's hashtag food, hashtag, anything like that. So they vary between IGTV and posting. On Tom's account, we usually don't post like a block of hashtags on the IGTV because that's video content that speaks for itself. It doesn't really need to be identified by all of these different hashtags. And the hashtags vary per post. So like a static post on Instagram would need to be under 30 hashtags, right? But we usually post between like 7 to 12. We usually don't go past that mark because then it's too much, and you should have a hashtag strategy in place before you even start creating all of this content. So you want to see who your demographic and who you're trying to reach for a specific post. So we always use the hashtag Tom Ferry, Tom Ferry coaching. Those ones are kind of the consistent ones, but there's ones that will be filled in based on the topic of content. So like for Mindset Monday, we would use motivation, mindset, but all of that stuff was thought out in a strategy before. So when we did the hashtag strategy, we looked through hashtags that we believed would be relevant for the type of content that we're producing and look to see how many posts were already on that hashtag. So like for hashtag food, like I said earlier, that would have like 1 million something posts under it. And so our posts would get lost. Yeah. So you wouldn't use something like that, But I think that it all depends on the type of content, who you're trying to reach, because for IG stories, you can do up to 10 hashtags, but you don't just want to put a bunch of random stuff. Yeah.
And normally I do see hashtags on stories, but it's not a lot. It's mostly 1 or 2, and they're very precise on the content that they're talking about, or even the event that they're in.
Yeah. And what's interesting with the stories too is that you can hide the hashtags within the stories. So a lot of people have been doing that recently, because if you were to look at the hashtag on search, it always comes with a story logo in the left-hand corner. So if someone were to use that hashtag in a story, you could see it as well as if they were to use it in a post. So for example, like if we were to hashtag Tom Ferry on an Instagram story, you would then change the coloring to match something that's in the video, and then you would shrink it down and hide it within that color so that it'll still pop up when someone uses that hashtag or is searching for that hashtag, but it's not noisy on what you're posting. So that's been very
useful. Yeah. So for our agents that they're doing open houses, that, you know, they're showing all these listings and whatnot, so you highly recommend them to put their location when they're doing their stories.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, because even when you search for location, that story will still show when someone is looking for that location. And with Instagram stories, they only last for 24 hours.
Yes.
So if it's something that you really want to live longer, then you should be creating highlights, because within those highlights you can have segmented ones that are like open houses, XYZ this, and then you could filter those Instagram stories within that content. Like for example, on Tom's we have like a Mindset Monday, a Tom Ferry Show one, and Ask Me Anything. Since the questions he does on Instagram stories are so popular, they go away after 24 hours, but there's still questions and answers on there that people have the same exact one. So we put those within that highlight. So if someone were to be looking in that highlight, they could find something.
They can go back.
Exactly.
And so I want to go back to hashtags.
Okay.
I read that a lot of people are thinking that if you post your hashtags in your captions, it's going to do better. So if you post it on a comment, it's not going to do great. And that's actually a myth. So can you tell us, what do you prefer when posting for Tom Ferry?
So for Tom Ferry, I prefer actually putting it in the comment. The only reason is because once it's in the caption, people don't want to read that once it drops down so low and you putting a bunch of dots to have a space and then these 4 or 5 hashtags. It's just too much. Usually when people are looking at your post, they're looking at the caption and scrolling away. So it's nice to just put the hashtag block in the comments, because you're still going to get the same benefit from it, and it's not going to be messy. You know, so it's like your post is still going to be getting those hashtags, but the user looking at it isn't going to be overwhelmed by just these paragraphs in the caption.
And it's not trying to scare away your viewers. Or your followers. It's, you know, making them be interested in the content that you're posting. And also, I think the reason why they're staying into your account is because of who you are as a person. So we're going back to the creating familiarity with posting things about your personal life, to not be scared of that. If you want, I heard that a prior agent, I think Brian Lazine, he posted a photo of his, you know, his children, and that attracted a lot of attention. So to not be afraid to show that personal side of you.
No, definitely. And I think it is like a fine line. I mean, you don't want to overwhelm it if your account is for your company, but you also want to share those, you know, pieces of your life, because people then can relate to you,
and they can relate to you. And I feel like you can also go find that relatable content through Insta Stories, right? There's no limit to posting, and I feel if you post 10 times on your Instagram per day, you're going to scare them away.
Oh, yeah, it's too much, because then it's just going to start bulking up when it's on the story. I mean, granted, on the story, you don't want to post like 60 stories, because then they're like this small, and it's like you're just tapping through them. So you do want to be mindful of what you put on your story. But I do think that it is nice to have that option of something that you might not want to live on your page fully, to just share it in a story.
And speaking of content that might live on your Instagram grid, can you share with us that link tree link that we have on Tom's page?
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's I think it's important too. To talk about.
Okay. So the link tree that we have on Instagram is called Have to Have It. So it's like HAVE to have it. And so what's cool about that is that if you post a video or static post on Instagram that goes within your feed, you can then link to different things for that picture. So if someone were to click the link in bio on Tom's page and it were to be for a post that was 2 weeks old, let's say it was a blog, they can still find that link within the link tree.
Oh, okay.
So it's not, so typically what people do is when they don't have a link tree, they're just replacing that link constantly. So if someone were to see content from 2 weeks ago and the caption says link in bio, well, that link is no longer in the bio, so they can't go back and you just missed an opportunity. So what that link tree does is it's able to house all of the content that does have links. And what's cool is that Have to Have It tracks the engagement on it as well as the clicks. So I can see how many people are clicking on the blog image. I can see how many people are clicking on this, so it's really cool. And we were able to customize ours. So it just says Instagram.com/Tom Ferry. So it doesn't have that whole like Have to Have It or it's this long link that's in there.
Do you have to pay for that?
Yes. So you have to pay for it. It all is based off of the amount of clicks that you get per month. So it averages, but it starts at $5 a month.
Oh, so that's good.
Yeah.
That's what IG promotion costs when you want to promote.
Exactly. So I think ours is around, because of the link clicks and whatnot, we pay like $15. It's just like a set price. Yeah.
And do you have to have a website in order to have a link tree and Have to Have It?
No. No, not at all. So the only thing that you have to plug into that is the Instagram account.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's it.
Simple.
It's super simple. Yeah.
And speaking of IG promotions.
Okay.
As an agent that maybe, wants to start small and they want to grow organically, is it possible now for a person to grow their community, their followers organically?
It is possible for you to grow it organically, but it will take a lot of time because you're having to engage with people. You're having to find those relevant people that are within the demographic that you're trying to serve. And so that's why a lot of people do the paid ads now because it's just another way for people to see your content. And those paid ads don't have to necessarily live on your page. They could all be dark.
How does that work? The dark IG promos.
So I think the dark IG promotions, so those are usually, since Facebook owns Instagram, you can schedule those through Facebook, those dark posts. But you wouldn't do a dark post of like a family photo, because then someone's just going to have that served in their feed. And it's like, well, why would you be paying, $10 for me to see a picture of your family? You would put those listings, you would put that kind of content within those dark ads so that they don't always have to live on your page, but people can still see them within the feed.
And when you do your promotions, it asks you where you want the people that are clicking on this to go, right?
So you can put on there a call to action and you can link to something. And usually it's recommended to track that link, to use like a UTM builder to track it, just so you know where the click is coming from. So we use UTM tracking for all of the social accounts. So they each have one on there. So I can see if someone were to click on this, oh, they came from LinkedIn. Oh, they came from Instagram. Like you can see where they come from, but you can build out the different audiences and the different demographics for those ads.
Awesome. And would you touched a bit on this of like, you're not going to promote a photo of your family, right?
Yeah.
So what do you recommend for them to maybe promote?
So something that you could promote on there would be like a listing video, a new home for sale, any of that kind of stuff. But then also I think a lot of real estate professionals are doing the like about me type of videos and like what they can offer you, that would be a great thing to promote. Yeah. So if you have a video that's of you, walking through the house that says, I serve this location, this is what I can offer you, call me today kind of thing, I would put that stuff in the promotions as well.
Awesome. And now that we're in the holidays, let's take advantage of it. Through content. Should agents invest their time on producing holiday content?
Yeah, I mean, I would. A lot of people too, I think that they get scared because it is the holidays, that they don't believe people are online a lot because they're spending time with their family and they're this. And yes, that is true. But there is that downtime that people still are looking at content and looking for content. Like, if you think, for example, for Thanksgiving, you had your dinner, you spent time with your family, but you're probably looking on your phone in between things, so you still want to be pushing out content, but I just wouldn't have it bombard people. It shouldn't be too much. And it is nice if you were to base your content seasonally. So things that are happening in Q4, that is relevant content that you would be pushing out towards the end of the year, So I think it just all depends.
Yeah. And it depends. And I feel like you said, not bombarding them and on the perfect times.
Yeah.
For Tom, what are the times that you post?
So the times actually are based off of the insights and the metrics that we get per month. So the times do change, but I always look at that stuff to see when the audience is online. So if you don't look at your like insights tab on Instagram, you definitely should be. You need to be seeing when people are engaging with your content, as well as Facebook, LinkedIn, any of that stuff. Twitter, you can see the analytics on Twitter. You just go into the platform and it's right on the top analytics. You can look at that stuff. So the posting times is usually based off of that, and also where the content is being seen. So for example, like Instagram, the content is pretty much split 50-50 between LA and New York. So they have a different time zone. So I'm mindful to post the content when they're awake, because I don't want to be posting something like a Mindset Monday when it's 11 a.m. for them and they've already are midway through their day and people down here are just getting started, so you just have to find that sweet spot of where your demographic is to then post the content in the times. But all of that stuff, I look directly on the platform to see those times.
So it's not posting blindly. It's
No,
always looking into those insights.
100%. Yeah.
And let's transition now to Facebook.
Ooh, okay.
Which is, I think, also one of the biggest platforms.
Yeah.
And let's talk, now that we're from Instagram to Facebook, should people post the same things on there? Should they post with the same captions? Should they use hashtag? How does it work?
So the platform is completely different than Instagram. So I wouldn't recommend using hashtags on Facebook like you would on Instagram, because if you think about it, you're not typing in the search bar a hashtag to look for content. You're typically just typing in a person's name, or you're typing in a company. You're not looking for a hashtag. So I wouldn't recommend putting hashtags on Facebook. The content varies, but not too much. I wouldn't post that quote type content on Facebook, like just a generic quote card with 2 or 3 sentences. It's usually more of video content, links. So posting the blogs on there, any of that kind of stuff, because it will show a link preview. And then just posting not so much of like motivational stuff, but kind of updates on there as well.
So what is the new thing that's happening on Facebook?
So Facebook, not typically new, but right now they're starting to perfect the Creator Studio. So the Creator Studio on Facebook, like a Facebook business manager. So you'd want to have a business manager page. That's how we monitor Tom's accounts through that. And the business in that Creator Studio, you're able to schedule out ads, you're able to schedule out all of that stuff on there. So they're trying to make that I guess, more of a cohesive blend for utilizing it, because it used to be easier to navigate and now it's kind of more difficult, but they're working on that. And then also the Facebook groups. I think that's not necessarily new. That's just always something that's been pretty heavy on Facebook.
And we ourselves have a lot of Facebook groups,
Yeah.
where our agents get to talk, connect, and like share ideas. Should agents start their Facebook groups?
I know that I see on Facebook, I know a lot of agents have like their masterminding groups on Facebook, so they're able to connect with people through there. But the groups is just another avenue to have a community and a resource to talk to people. So all of our coaching clients, we have Facebook groups for each of them. And they're able to share on there things that you can R&D, new tools that they found out about, or if they're just trying to find someone for role playing, any of that stuff. So it's just a really tight-knit community on there.
Should agents have a business profile or a personal on Facebook? And even
I
on
would,
Instagram?
to be honest, I would have both on there, because I think Facebook is different than Instagram in the aspect of sharing the family and the business. Usually when people look on Facebook, they are looking for the business to find information of either like a phone number or an address, that kind of thing. So I would have those separate. I would have a business page, a Facebook page, and then just your personal or your personal Facebook. Some people like to mix the two. I don't think there's really a wrong for that, but I would have different accounts for that.
Okay, perfect. And earlier you mentioned how you don't recommend posting the same thing on Instagram, on Facebook, and I've noticed a lot when you post something on Instagram asks you if you want to post it on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Should we avoid that then?
I think with that, it just depends on the content. Just because for Facebook, with Tom, we usually change the verbiage, even though it is the same message. The verbiage is different because the audience is different. So you don't want someone to look at your Instagram, then go on your Facebook, then go on your Twitter, then go on your LinkedIn, and it's all the same verbiage, the same everything, because then they're not getting that added value. We kind of add in another sentence or start the sentence different, or it's just completely different on those platforms, but it is still driving home whatever content it is. So like the Mindset Monday, we post that on IGTV, which we typically don't do a caption, but on Facebook we have the caption for it. And then the caption changes for LinkedIn. So I would recommend it being just tweaked a little.
So you mentioned how in Facebook you tweak the content, you add different sentences or you take out. And I feel it's important to take notice of that each platform has different audiences, right?
Yeah.
And I know maybe our agents are focused on a certain age group or a certain profession of their clients, but I think it's also important to open up that market and focus on more clients, because a lead
is a lead.
Yeah, it's a lead.
A lead is a lead.
Yeah. So what do you recommend in terms of Facebook? You said that 4 to 6 sentences, the types of like paragraph content is good. Why is that? Is Facebook more in terms of like reading and less image?
Well, I think that LinkedIn is more of that like business type. People are looking for that article or looking for that blog and spending time on reading that content. Facebook, you're kind of just scrolling through, but you do want to get some sort of, nugget from it. So you don't want to put too much on there. You don't want to just put paragraph after paragraph after paragraph on Facebook. It's just kind of that shorter formed content. So think of it like Instagram, but add 2 or 3 more sentences.
And I feel like it's really important, even though, let's say, Facebook does have an older demographic, and you're focused on the granddaughter of the grandma that's on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
You can also reach the granddaughter through the grandma, right?
Yeah.
So definitely don't close that door. And for you know, in terms of what you're doing with Tom, what do you recommend? How many times one should post? How many times do you post for Facebook? Because it's obviously different. You said 3 to 5 times.
Yeah, it's not as much as like LinkedIn, because LinkedIn I could go heavy with like articles and videos.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much like the same as Instagram on Facebook. Yeah, awesome. Just not too much.
So now that we covered Facebook, which is also a great tool, and let's talk about Twitter.
Okay.
Twitter, for me, and for many people, maybe they find it sort of intimidating, different. I see it more of a place where I can go and laugh.
Okay, yeah.
You know, people tend to share it's like a journal.
Yeah.
You know? And their opinions on certain topics.
Yeah.
For an agent, what do you recommend for, like, how do they start using Twitter?
Yeah, Twitter, I think people use it differently, but it's typically just like a newsworthy channel. So a lot of people will post like breaking news, updates. It's just like those smaller form updates. So with the content on Twitter, for Tom's account, we usually will post the more fun content, the motivational quotes, or we'll post video content, like I said, just not too long. We would post like under 1:30 on there. So I'd post that content as well, but like it's all shorter form. So we're still posting the same content on Twitter that we do on the other sites, but it differs. So I wouldn't post a lot of articles on Twitter. You know, I'm posting, like, I will link to the blog article on there, but I won't bombard people with that. It's more of those like 1 to 2 sentences of like an extra push, or posing a question on there, because you're able to interact with people.
Yeah. And I know in Twitter you can make like small surveys.
Yeah, like polls.
Yeah, polls. Yeah. And I think that's a great thing to interact with your, followers and clients later on.
Yeah. So in the past, I know on Twitter for Tom, we've posed a question of like, what channels are you on? Or like, how do you feel about TikTok? Are you utilizing TikTok? It's just like a fun, interactive way. And I think people don't expect a lot of people in the real estate realm to be on Twitter, but they are. Yeah.
So that goes to my question. Should everyone be on every single platform, or should we just focus on 1 or 2 platforms, or just have that username saved just in case for the future?
To save it. I recommend that you're on all of the relevant platforms, just because with what you said earlier about the demographic, like grandma may be on Facebook, but granddaughter's on Instagram type of thing. You want to make sure that you're hitting every touch point. So if someone were to look for you on Instagram and not find you, but they find you on Facebook, it's like, well, what if they use Instagram more? You just missed an opportunity, you know? So I would make sure that you are on all of the relevant platforms, like Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all of that. And you should have a consistent name.
Yes.
Like that's actually huge, because you don't want someone, if they're on Facebook, they type in your name and they type in Courtney Gracia. They type me in on Facebook and they find me. But then on Twitter, they type in Courtney Gracia and they're trying to find me and they can't, because my username is, see, it did this. You know, it's like completely different. So then you just lost an opportunity for someone to find you. So make sure that your username is consistent among all of those channels, because you don't want someone to not be able to find you just because of your name. Yeah.
Think yourself as a brand, right?
Yeah,
your
100%.
Name is a brand.
It is.
The things that you're posting is also part of your brand,
part of your
image. So yeah.
So like for Tom's accounts, it used to be Coach Tom Ferry, and then we completely shifted it to just Tom Ferry. So if you were to just type in Tom Ferry on Google, you would be able to find all of our accounts, because they're all under that name, that brand, you know?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you are using your name. Like we've had in the past with the Ask Me Anythings on Instagram, when Tom poses a question and he wants to shout that person out, but when he types an @ and he's trying to type in that person's name, he can't find them anywhere. It's like, your username should be your name. Like, that's it.
Yeah, there's no reason, and you're losing the opportunity. What if, you're an agent and Tom wants to tag you, and then a lost opportunity right
exactly
there.
You could have had a follow.
Yeah. So speaking still on Twitter, what are the new things that Twitter is going to roll out for this end of year, next year?
So there are some predictions for Twitter in 2020. They're saying that they're going to start coming out with segmented themes or segmented, I guess, topics. So if you were to follow, Joe Schmo, and he posted all about sports, but then he also added in humor, but you only wanted to see the sports side of his tweets, you would be able to just see those because you would put yourself in that pocket of you're only looking for content that is about sports. So then it would filter in. They said that that's in the works. They're working on that right now. So that would actually be really interesting because if you're able to segment that and not have to pay for it like you do for Facebook ads or for Instagram, LinkedIn, all of those paid, promotions, that would be really cool. Yeah. Because then it's something that you're not, like I said, not having to pay for. And it's just another way for your content to just be filtered to that designated audience.
Yeah. You wouldn't really be bombarding your followers and they're following you for, let's say, real estate listings, and you talk a lot about food. Yeah. And they just want to see the real estate listings. Yeah. So, you don't have the unfollow, but they just filter that out.
Exactly.
I think that's very smart.
Yeah, I do too.
So for agents, how can they take advantage of Twitter and make themselves maybe stand out from the rest?
On Twitter, I think you just need to be consistent and you just need to be active because some people will only post, once a week and then that's not enough content. Yeah. So I would be posting on there if you were to be having open houses, just in case someone so happens to stumble upon it, just to have that on there, as well as just quotes, or tips and tricks for people, just that like short, fast punch content I would put on Twitter because you can't have 300 characters. Exactly. So
you need to be consistent again. And I feel like another great tip would be if there's, I don't know, the New York Times is talking about a new housing law or about the market. Yeah. You can retweet that with a comment and say like, give your, in 140 characters, your opinion about it, right? Yeah. So that's also informing your followers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think we covered Twitter very well, but let's now go back. Well, let's end with the big one, which is LinkedIn also. Okay, I feel LinkedIn started as, it still is a very professional social media platform, but I feel it's more on its way of being an informative platform. Yeah. Can you tell us what new things LinkedIn is investing in?
So, in terms of content in general on LinkedIn, that's something that we're focusing heavily on just because there are a lot of people on LinkedIn that are looking for that content, but they're not getting it, So video content is huge on LinkedIn. I think video content in general is huge on every platform. You should be utilizing it everywhere. But LinkedIn, a lot of things are changing, but not too significant.
So what are the small changes that are happening?
The small changes on LinkedIn that are happening right now is with the ads. So before you had to have a certain amount of following, or you had to pay a certain amount to do like dynamic ads, which would be posted on the right-hand side. But now they're letting anyone do that. Yeah. So anyone can, have their ads placed on there as long as you put some sort of budget behind it.
Do you have to have a business profile?
No.
Or is your normal?
You can have a normal profile. For Tom's, we have his normal profile and then we have a company page because through that company page, you're able to post career and job opportunities and listings on there. And then his more personal page is just for all of the content. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So I've also noticed that LinkedIn is focused on articles through you posting an article in their article section. Should agents go ahead and, you know, not only do video, but also maybe write a small article blog?
Definitely. So on LinkedIn, you're able to do posts, you're able to do articles, and then you could post that video blog, any of that kind of content. The article section is completely different, because what happens with that is it actually opens up a window for you to then like type or paste an article in there, but not a link to an article. Like you actually have to post the text in there, and then you can create a header on there, you can put an image, and it will just live, like you said, in that article section. So I do think that's just another way that you could put your content out there. You could write an article on something you're giving an opinion on. You could write an article on something similar to like what you would have for a blog.
And for those articles, do people have to use hashtags in order for other viewers to see them? Can we promote these blogs? Articles?
No, you don't. You don't have to put hashtags on there. It's just another section that you can look at when you go onto someone's profile. In terms of hashtags on LinkedIn, going to that, people do search for hashtags on LinkedIn. Not like I said, on Facebook, people don't, but on LinkedIn, they do. So on LinkedIn, we also have a hashtag strategy, which is completely different than Instagram. And we'll post those 3 to 4 hashtags again, because you don't want to bombard people.
And what 3 to 4 hashtags have you seen with Tom that work really well? Maybe our agents can go ahead and look for that type of content.
So I again would look at the demographic and who you're trying to reach, but a lot of the hashtags that we use that perform really well are like video marketing, video content, you know, social media marketing, business strategies, marketing strategies, that kind of realm, or like real estate, professional, or home buyer, that kind of stuff. But I again would look up the hashtags, see how many active users are posting under that hashtag, because you don't, again,
get lost.
Yeah.
And how can one stand out in LinkedIn? What tips can you recommend?
With LinkedIn, I think a way that you can stand out is video. Yeah, is video. Just because someone scrolling through the feed and seeing a video, that jumps out to them more than seeing just text. Yeah. So
I think the common theme here for every platform is video. And it varies, right?
Yeah.
In terms of time, a minute, 40 seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. And what have you been seeing that is really working for us here at Tom Ferry through LinkedIn?
Through LinkedIn, I would say the blog articles work really well as the micro content. So recently we've been pushing out a lot of micro content. We've just been picking certain sections within Tom's talks from either summit or, you know, a private event, and just focusing on one topic that video has in it. So for example, like there was the row video, like that was so popular from Summit. It resonated with so many people. Like after Summit, everyone was commenting row, and some people that weren't at Summit had no idea what Tom was talking about. So we clipped that and we posted it, and then people were able to be involved in it, and it just was a broader reach for the row, you know. So we clipped that, posted that on LinkedIn, and people were commenting like, oh, now this is what you meant, or, you know, oh, row, I totally get it now. So just posting that like micro content has been doing extremely well for us on LinkedIn, as well as I think people need to remember that they do need to engage with their followers. So when someone's commenting, they're taking the time to comment, and they watched your video, they read your post, they're taking the time, the extra step to then comment on your post. Even if it's a thumbs up, even if it's an emoji, like you should acknowledge them. You know, because think of it as like your favorite content creator. If you were to post on their stuff, if they were to just like your post, you'd be like, wow, like they saw my comment, you know? And so you should be engaging with those people as well, because it just wants them, they'd feel comfortable to come back to your page and interact with your content.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine like you would make them feel special.
Yeah.
If you respond back, if you take a moment to just check their profile real quick, see what they like, and just maybe add something of them into that comment.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
gonna even create that trust and familiarity again.
Exactly. And like Tom has said it before in podcasts and just on short clips, I think a lot of people get discouraged with huge followings or people that are verified, that they're not going to acknowledge them. But Tom is like, he makes it a priority to acknowledge them because he knows how important it is. So when you're getting that thumbs up, you're getting that like, you're getting that heart, like Tom saw your comment, you know. I think a lot of things too is that I see that stuff. I see the comments. I see all that. But I'm not the one that's
commenting back.
No, it's Tom that's seeing it and commenting back.
So if you get a like, if you get a thumbs up, it's Tom. It's not
It's
Courtney.
Tom. And even in the DMs, the responses, all of that, that is Tom. 100%. Yeah, it's not me.
So for any agent that wants to get maybe a social media manager,
okay,
they can definitely like apply the tips that you just gave. You know, the manager can focus on posting, focus on the strategy, focus on planning that content, and you can just go ahead and just comment back, like, answer your DMs. That makes you have less work and more on the fun side of
exactly
things.
And even with some of the content, like you had said earlier with the polls, if you're not sure what content your demographic is looking for, do a poll on Instagram, do a poll on Twitter, do a poll on LinkedIn, you know, see what people are wanting to see from your account.
Yeah. And that makes it more interactive that you're taking the time to invest on what they want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So I think we talked and covered so many great things, Courtney.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I hope you found some viable insight here on what we do here at Tom Ferry. And let us know if you're liking these episodes, or what do you want to see next. You know, we are very open to providing you very important information for you to improve as a real estate agent. So thank you again for listening. Tom will be back next week.
He will be back.
Yeah, for another great episode. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.